Good evening, everybody. Let us start today's webinar. I welcome Mr. Manish Kothari from Rhino Machines Anand for this webinar. Let me introduce him first. Manish Kothari is Managing Director of Rhino Machines Anand, Gujarat, Baroda, and he was involved in the foundry business from his school days and from 1984. So almost 36 years he is in a foundry business through various activities he are doing. He is also one of the main pillar for our dynamic foundry group activities. His vision for the education and the training and the promotion of knowledge-based sharing has always motivated me, myself, as well as dynamic foundry group, and that is why we can able to take up various projects and activities for the knowledge sharing in our dynamic foundry group. So uh, lot of credit goes to Manish ji. Thank you very much for your proactive support to us. Manish is also recognized by the UNIDO for his innovative work in the field of automation training in 2015 and 2016. From 2017, he's joined their activities as a mentor, and he's continuing that activities till date. So this is a versatile personality. Manish Kothari is a versatile personality, and lucky to have such a nice and versatile personality for today's webinar. Regarding today's session, that is sand reclamation. Sand reclamation, as we all know, is a very important topic as of now, because as we all know, sand is a natural resource and it is going to be dried day by day, and it is very difficult for us to have that natural resources in future. So to make a future investment, we have to work on sand reclamation. We have to optimize that sand reclamation activities, and for that, to guide us, to help us, and to make us more capable doing this, we have arranged this webinar today on sand reclamation. So I once again welcome Mr. Manish Kothari and ask him to continue. And I'm handing over this platform to Manish. Manish, welcome. Please continue.
Thank you, Sandeep ji, for
Thank you.
for that introduction. Though I don't participate a lot nowadays in the discussion, but I'm always there, and I am so glad that Dynamic Foundry Group has been coming together to see that this COVID period is not underutilized, and we use it to the maximum period in sharing knowledge, technology, and connecting with each other. Sandeep ji, when he asked me whether I can talk about sand reclamation, so sand reclamation is a subject which is very near and dear to me. It's because one of the mission statements which I have inherited from my father, R.C. Kothari ji, is on waste recovery and energy efficiency as two key areas where as a business we have been working. So sand reclamation in foundry becomes a very important from the waste recovery perspective. My first experience with sand reclamation was in the late 90s, 98, 99, 2000. That was when along with my dad, we worked on the CO2 sand reclamation at that time, which was sodium silicate with cured by carbon dioxide. And that was a mechanical attrition. We had a patent in year 2000. And it was that period where there was a lot of CO2 based foundries who were trying to reclaim the sand. There were pollution problems, there was availability problems. And since then, we have always been trying to look at different sand reclamations. So what I'll try to share with you is my experiences on sand reclamation as I understand. Some of the data which I have been collecting over a period of time. So basically, I consider sand reclamation as, from my understanding, so I'm talking of the general sand reclamation processes categorized into three major categories. One is the green sand, which we normally call as clay bonded, bentonite bonded sand. The second being chemically bonded sand, also called as Nobec. And the third is sodium silicate bonded. Now, each of these processes, through my career, I've seen different processes uh, which I would like to share with you. So from sodium silicate, one, as I explained to you, was a mechanical attrition, which we did in 2000. And later on, we also got into discussion and connected with another company called Sojemi Engineering, who were doing a combination of thermal and mechanical. And but there the binder was ester. So there was an ester cured sodium silicate process which was also existing. And even today, as the chemically bonded sand has some pollution hazards as a chemical itself, there's a phase of inorganic binder which is going on in Europe. Our partners with whom we have been working, Pata Aluminium, recently of the last 6-7 years, they did make some trials, demonstration, and I think they have supplied a plant also where there's a mechanical attrition of sodium silicate bonded with ester and some inorganic binders, which I don't have much detail, but I think that is a process which may come to India in some time as the pollution norms become stringent. And some of the chemically bonded sand processes may shift to this inorganic binder from the organic binder. The chemically bonded sand reclamation has been very popular for several years. The first reclamation is the mechanical attrition, which we see with Nobec. You have a knockout and a mechanical attrition unit, which is very standard. And since the reclaimability of furan would reach to 95% to 90%, and phenolic maybe 85-90%. Thermal regeneration came into picture only when the volume was very high. And there the chemical was burnt at a certain degree, say, let us say around 550 to 600 degrees centigrade. And the processes are working. There are several plants like this in India from various manufacturers working. Then there's another process which has become very popular, which is the alpha set, as we call it. It's an alkaline phenolic, where you need a chemical addition plus thermal to reclaim it. This is another process which we have experimented. I have been seeing this process for last 8-9 years. It was existing in Europe, but in the last installation which we did, we had set up a pilot plant in our factory. We did the trials with this process. Technically, we found the process to be it was validated along with the support of a chemical supplier. We got the additives. The economics is something which needs to be worked on. And then there is a process which is common for both clay bonded and chemically bonded, is by grinding off or peeling off the layer of resin from the sand, which are not many plants. I have not seen, but I have heard about it. There have been some trials going on, but we are not having much details in the public domain at this moment, except some marketing material. There's not much of technical detail available on which you can deliberate. So green sand is something which I have been involved for, as we say, from 1986, actually, when I went into a foundry to commission a molding line. And that's where the green sand was the first process which I have seen. And I remember seeing the green sand reclamation in Bila Engineering, in Besco in Kolkata, where they were washing the sand and drying it. So there was a huge humongous plant. You need a lot of water and you have to dry it. So it was not very easy to manage. So you could reclaim the sand, but then managing the sludge and the water was has been a very big issue. So even though this process was successful to some extent, it did not become very popular. Though this technology was developed in India and it had come from overseas, It did not become very popular. This plant, I think, my father has sold in the 80s, or helped engineer the plant, not sold, uh, with somebody from Mumbai. After that, I have not seen more plants of this type. Uh, then we'll come to the mechanical attrition, mechanical plus thermal, mechanical, chemical, thermal, and grinding, polishing as we go forward, because this is an area which has, which probably, if we see, there are uh, some cluster plants, one in Belgaum, uh, two in Kolhapur, where these installations have been done. I don't have much detail about that. And we have done a few plants for which I will share the case studies of what we have done, where there's only mechanical attrition, there's mechanical plus thermal, there's mechanical with a chemical addition, and thermal, which is being done by somebody, not by us. And grinding and polishing plant is, I had seen the first plant by Gemco in Netherlands, maybe around 15, 16 years ago, or more, more than 20 years ago, where they were peeling off the layer on a grind, like a grinding stone. It was a huge plant, maybe 5 or 10 tons per hour. But because of the size and maybe the complexity, it did not become so popular. But there are some work going on right now with Sinto has been proposing this for quite some time. There's another Japanese company which has been proposing. I don't know the results, but maybe as things go, it may become popular. Uh, and we have to see the economics recovery in context of what is happening in India. So we have to see from our side whether it will work or not. So, so as I explained in the sodium silicate process, uh, so there are two aspects which I have been always looking at. One is the technical, and second is the commercial. So technical feasibility is the first part, and there have been a lot of, so when we are doing this mechanical thermal reclamation of green sand, I have been receiving a lot of inquiries. Can we do the sodium silicate process in this or not? So there's a clear no, it will not happen, because it's not exothermic in nature. It's an inorganic binder, so it does not burn off, and so it will not get reclaimed in the thermal system as a chemically bonded sand won't happen. And so thermal has been ruled out as of now. The process which is right now being done with the thermal was only to dry it or heat it up to some extent and then mechanical attrition. But that again was for ester cured, so we don't have much data on that subject as of now, because that process itself is not so popular in India. The other, when we went into the mechanical attrition, which we developed in the late 90s and in the 2000 decade, and we have sold a lot of machines. There were requests for making it mechanized and completely automated. Over a period of time, I started to see, because I was into installation, commissioning, and interacting with the customer, that the dust was very aggressive. The reclamation would happen, but the dust was very aggressive, and it would eat away the paint, and powder coated panels completely became naked in a year's time. So this was a very dangerous phenomenon, because if this dust goes into the human body, it's not a good exercise. So this process, though it worked, we always recommended to keep mechanization as little as possible, so that this dust does not fly around. Because the more you handle, the dust will fly more and more. The second was, being a mechanical attrition, it was not 100% recovery which was possible, and maximum we were able to use maybe 70 or 50% of sand in the facing sand after mixing with new sand. That too for certain steel castings, not for all. And it needed an adjustment in the process of water addition to compensate for the hygroscopic nature of the sand after reclamation. And there was also this friability which would come up if we did not add water. So these were 2, 3 areas where this process had some limitations and still has some limitations. Though a lot of people after that, what they did was they used the vibratory crushers and used this sand as backing. But in the facing, they are using completely new sand in the mechanical attrition process, whether it is our machine or somebody else is making only the mechanical crusher. So this process is not very easy. It's cumbersome. There's a lot of manual work involved in the sodium silicate. For small foundries, yes, you can do it, and they have been doing it. But over a period of time, sodium silicate CO2 process itself is not so popular. And the last is the ester process, where the reclamation is better, but not much data in public domain, as I explained. Commercially, the mechanical attrition process, the cost was not very high. So the return of investment, as I document, used to be around 8 months to 1 year when we are selling this process. There's also one more process which I have not mentioned, is in Coimbatore by Mr. Vishwanathan, is using the washing process. But it is again the similar to what I explained for green sand. The washing requires water managing. So you move out of one pollution into managing another pollution. The investment may not be very high. The technologies may be available. It has been shown as a success. There is a lot of success in Coimbatore, but I don't know how many foundries are actually being able to use it. And so maybe more data can help foundries decide whether this could be a good process. But what I remember when I had talked to Mr. Vishwanathan was that he set up a system so that water could be used into some other process or in farming. And that's how the balance was happening. That means there was a lot of water needed. So there will be certain pros and cons for this process also. So dust disposal cost has not been available because this process has not been so popular, and not much information is available on this. So this is as far as sodium silicate process is concerned. So I'll reach the green sand process last because it has much more interest, I know. But let us finish what we know to some extent and see that we come to an understanding of how these 3 different categories of sand processes are being done. If there is any question where if you are not understanding, if I'm not very clear, you may please ask now also. You will not wait for the Q&A, so we don't miss the chain of thoughts. So chemically bonded process, well established, proven for phenolic, furan, resin coated. Alpha set is a process which still is not being very well proven in our country today for multiple reasons. One is the cost of sand itself, which is used in alpha set, and that's the basis of why alpha set became popular, is not very high. And the reclamation cost of alpha set process is more than the cost of the new sand. So that itself is a no starter for establishing this process in our country. And it is not only the cost of the chemical, which maybe we are importing right now, but it is also the energy consumed and gas consumed in the mechanical process, which make it not so feasible commercially right now. But again, the process of grinding, polishing can be used, but we don't have much data available right now, which is a common subject, which you will see that not much information is available in India on different processes or comparatives, which can help foundrymen really find which is the right path, because it's a question of quantity, quality, and economics. There's a combination, and we have to take a weighted decision based on this process. I'm not sure if the clusters are doing alpha set process. I have not heard about it. If there is some information, maybe I would be happy to receive. The commercials, as I've said, is it is viable, and that is why it has grown in popularity, except for alpha set. the resin coated sand has a different perspective for viability, because the moment we get into resin coated sand, I need to also have the coating plant integrated. Otherwise, the logistics cost becomes difficult. So this will require some sort of arrangement between the consumer of resin sand and the producer of resin sand. So those foundries who have got an internal coating plant, I think have probably put up this plant and integrated it. So process-wise, it has been successful. Commercially, also it is viable. But when we have divided usage, means the resin coating coated resin manufacturer is different and the consumer is different, then it becomes a little complicated to manage the system. So the most discussed topic is about green sand reclamation, and it has been about 7 years that I've been going across the country and collecting information since 2013 or 2014, 6 years now. When we started to work together with PATA, who have been in this business for last 25 years or more, and they had a lot of experience, but their experiences were of installations in Europe or in Mexico or Brazil, which were huge plants, 5 tons per hour, 10 tons per hour, 12 tons per hour, 25 tons per hour. And so there was a need to see whether this sand could be used in India and what were the commercials. So I tried to put these two parameters. The technical side, there was not enough data on historical performance in India, not much of forest process validation, as far as, and therefore the processing cost data also is limited. The return of investment and whether the sand is being used for molding or for coring or for core making, different EFSF sand, what happens to the Indian sand, what happens if I use the, so there were so many questions and not much information has still been put together for India, and probably we as foundry industry may like to work on this part and collaborate with each other to put this data together. So, so there are still a lot of work to be done on green sand reclamation in India. There are 3-4 people who are working on this. I can share what I have done. The cluster in Kolhapur can probably share what they have done, because there are 2 green sand reclamation plants, as I have understood. But it is, I don't have the reference data, so I cannot make a comparison or a comment on that. So when I started to work in India on the green sand reclamation, so I started getting a lot of generic questions, and these were some of the questions which were there in the Google form also, which Sandeep ji shared with me. Whether it will work with Indian sand or not. Where is it working in India? India mein kahan chal raha hai? So there were a lot of questions whether, okay, the sand in Europe is good quality, whether it will work in India or not. Now, PATA had a pilot plant in Italy. India does not allow sand to be sent out, and Europe does not allow old sand to be imported. So you can send old sand from India, but you cannot import old sand in Europe. You cannot send new sand from India. So this, there was initially, we tried to see if we can send this sand, Indian sand, to Europe, but it was not possible at that period of time because of the technical reasons. So it needed a plant working in India. Third question, what is the cost of reclamation? Because again, the sands are different, the properties, the consumption of the amount of bentonite which is there in our process and the bentonite which is there in Europe may be different, in Brazil may be different. So the cost was always a question. The factor which was very different was the cost of procurement of sand. And this is where we as foundry, as it is, we are struggling for cost in our country. And then if we talk of cost of reclaimed sand being equal or more than the cost of new sand, so green sand reclamation is a no starter for setting up the plant. And this is a situation where I think for the last 4 or 5 years, I've seen the plants not coming up because the economical viability is always a question. And if it is not economically viable, foundries cannot increase their cost for an offline process. It's not an online process. It is not still not become a necessity as of now. We get some, so I have seen a huge demand rise when Allahabad mines were stopped. And suddenly, when we found there was an alternative, suddenly that demand for reclamation disappeared. Because foundries are trying to see that they survive, sustain in this competitive world, and reclamation cannot be just treated, no, it is necessary, without this the casting cannot be made. We'll find our way, we'll find some sand, we'll adjust our process and get the sand. So how to justify it was the question. And even for foundries which had a large consumption. So one was there are foundries which have very low consumption and the justification is very difficult. There are foundries who may be consuming 100 to 200 tons of sand every day, not one, every day. For them, they have so many projects on pollution management that the internal rate of return, and this is something which I learned as I discussed with some large companies. Yes, Mr. Manjunath, you have some question? So I see some hand. So maybe you can put it in the chat box. So the internal rate of return would not allow the project to take priority. So it would end up at the almost the end of the list, because every organization has multiple needs, and there are so many things an industry would have to do to continuously look at managing their pollution environment policies. So this last question was where also a question, something where I found people asking me this, how to increase the viability. And again, connecting with, so even if I gave the reports of this is working in Europe or in South America, our sand is different. We need trials on our system. Even after we had done the pilot test in our own country with our Indian sand, one foundry will say that the sand of that foundry is different and our foundry is different. So Krupal bhai, I'll come to your question later on. We'll come to, I don't think there's much change in the parameters whether the sand is from Allahabad or Mangalore or anywhere. It will be so it's like putting garbage in and garbage out. If your quality of sand is good at the input, the quality of sand at the output will be a reflection of what you have put inside. The process of reclamation is only removing the unwanted parts of the sand. So what you do when you buy new virgin silica sand, you are looking for new virgin silica sand again. If you buy a mined sand which has got a 2-peak AFS sand and you put it into a reclamation plant, possibly you might get the same pattern as you have put inside. And you may have to, but after reclamation, if you are sieving and removing, you may get a better sand, but your recovery will be lesser. So the question which Krupal has asked is about whether the process parameters change if sand is changed. So this is something which, and that's why this last statement, our sand is different. The sand is different because our purchase specifications may be different, our source of sand may be different, our shape of sand may be different. So sand may be different, but the process is same. What we put in is what we will get out of the system. But I then put a question on the other side. So from my perspective, when we are taking the cost of sand, these are the questions which I used to ask the accounting the cost of rejection to the cost of sand. And this is probably where process people in the foundry may be able to answer. When this Allahabad mining was stopped, there was change to this sand from Rajasthan, which was mined and crushed sand, which was angular and probably not as good as the original Allahabad sand. But the foundry adjusted to it. And then I asked them, and similar was the case in West Bengal. So they said, we are getting sand from Allahabad, but our sand from Bankura is also good enough and it is cheaper. So my question to them was, then why did you use Allahabad sand for so many years? If Bankura sand was good enough, that means you are making a loss. So there is something between the two which is not documented, and probably foundry people may be able to look at and come out with this figure to see that they are able to justify the cost of sand. So cost of sand is not only the cost of purchase of sand. Okay, so there are 3 more questions. So as we progress for the technique, I cannot give an answer which is the best technique. We can only compare the results. And for the properties also, I think we'll get the information as we go further. So the questions will get answers as we progress. So let me continue. And the second is the impact of the quality of sand and the surface finish and the quality of casting. Are we accounting that to the cost of sand? Are we accounting the losses which we may have if the sand is not available? It's a question of sustainability. Today in India, disposal costs, sometimes people get money for giving sand, but because probably black sand is not that harmful. So is it that this sand cost, but if you go to Europe, the cost of disposal is 2 times of the new sand, which makes a very different equation when you talk of reclamation viability. So at the end, sand is an asset or liability is what the foundry will have to answer for themselves. These are the questions I can pose, and this presentation has been shared with Sandeep ji, which will be made available to you. So there is no trade secret over here. This is all information available for sharing. So what I did, and as an organization, we got the information. I collected a lot of information, understood the risk, understood the opportunity. What does the market need? What are the solutions available? So now I'm moving to what we supply, because now I don't know about the other products. I can talk about the solutions we have done. So to understand that, did the seeking sought the information, understood what are the risks, and then when I started to understand that all the questions cannot be answered without a plant in India, together with FATA, we set up first we partnered them and then invested in prototypes and set them up in our own premises in our factory rather than going into any cluster model and for a very long cycle. We wanted to reduce the cycle, and we set up this facility over here and started to document environmental impact, economics, which is equal to sustainability. So the entire exercise moved from pure economics to a combination of environment and economics, because as a pollution board would say that I can stop the foundry, but I cannot, because ultimately, if it is not affordable, how can I stop the foundry? So these questions remained unanswered, and that's where we started to that's where we really tried to look at sustainability as the key driver, because Now, even today, if you talk, it's all about sustainability development goals from SDG 1 to 17. If you go, every goal has a different target. So first was the environmental factor, which I started to calculate. So this came from my experience in energy efficiency innovation when I participated. So when I was participating in the energy efficiency, I was asked the question, what is the environmental impact? Now, till then I was a machine manufacturer. As a machine manufacturer, I was not looking at environmental impact. So 2015 is the period when I started to look at what could be the impact on the environment, on the CO2 emission. And when we see in COVID today, and when somebody sends me a picture of, I can see the Himalayas from Jalandhar. So you can imagine the environmental impact which has been happening. And today we can see what it can do. So can we start to look at what actually is the environmental impact? How many kgs of CO2 emission are we putting into the air when you are transporting the sand by 400 kilometers, by 600 or 800? And this is some plus the natural resources part. The second was to understand the consumption. And so I made a generic calculation of, so if I go to a foundry which is not having, for example, Kirloskar Ferrous is, or DCM, where the core sand consumption would be almost 1 kg per 1 kg of casting, 1:1 or 0.8 kg to 1:1. Tractor industry would have a different characteristic. And then there will be low cored item where your consumption may be nearly 0.1 to 0.3 kg per. So the mapping of the type of foundry with the consumption of sand is an exercise which the foundry could do to understand the need of the. So whenever you pick up a component or a section, you could identify the quantum of sand you need with that cluster, how much sand is going to be purchased, what is the disposal, all those data could be put together. And there was the aluminum casting consumption. So this is what I could understand from my own survey. So 2018, 2019 is when we took the bigger step of setting up a cluster model of a sand reclamation plant, where a lot of people had visited when the exhibition was there in Ahmedabad in 2018. We had started the plant in January. And there we demonstrated all the different processes for green sand and for core sand. We tested for alpha set. And in an area of around 5,540 square meter, we are able to demonstrate that and document all the data, which I'll share with you now. And break down the process. So we started breaking down the process into parts. So we gave them names. S1 is when I'm using only for molding sand. So this plant has been installed in Aquaserve in CRI, and Aquaserve is now putting up the second plant, Magna in Coimbatore. This has been adopted very quickly. They are the first users of these plants in our country. And Aquaserve is now nearly more than 3 years. They have been using this integrated with the plant, where they are able to reduce their new sand addition in the mixer. This sand will go into the molding sand in the mixer. So those foundries who are in the pumps and so Aquaserve is typically a pump casting manufacturer, where 50% of their new sand goes into molding and 50% into core. Since the process was, the investment was lesser, there was a need to take a first step. So they invested in, so we co-invested. We also had a stake in that plant, and we set up with their help. In a year's time, we were able to set up the process, and they are able to reduce their new sand addition in the mixer, or their average consumption has gone down by 50 to 60% already, and they reduce the dead clay level by around 40 to 50% in the reclamation process and balance their sand. When we set up the mechanical unit at our factory in 2018, with the help of Bricks India Group company Flow Metallics, we were able to establish another way of going to molding sand, which was at the mechanical and thermal, where the entire sand which was coming out of the thermal treatment could be used as molding sand. And these trials have been going on for quite a bit of time. And now that the plant is shifted there, we are now waiting for the COVID lockdown to open and things to start to go into full production. Trial productions have already been done over there for the last 4 or 5 months. And so this S4 has also found its place. And this becomes very relevant when we work in cluster, because in S1 process, it's the foundry, it's found, the foundry of one sand of one foundry cannot be used in the another foundry, because the characteristics are relative. In the S4, it is absolute. So you get a sand which is as good as virgin sand for molding sand, but maybe not good enough for core because of the pH value. The third process, which is S3, is when you do mechanical, thermal, mechanical. The sand which comes out with around 2.5 to pH, 2.5 ADV at around 7 to 7.5 pH is something which can be used for making cores. And this process has been established, and the fine tuning is going on with flow metallics. I would not say it is 100% done. It will take another 3-4 months before we can come with a good amount of data of establishing the consumption of resin, the quality of core, the impact on casting. Yes, we can make core, but we want to establish the entire cycle before we go next. And we also establish the costs thereof. So while the first process was costing around 1 rupee per kg equivalent for the new sand, but it could replace 50% of the new sand. The S4 process could replace the entire new sand if we have sufficient sand, but the cost of the process is around 1.6, in which the thermal is varying between 0.8 to 1.4 depending on the process, and for the core sand from mechanical, thermal, mechanical is something like 2.6. And this is one of the reasons why in Kolhapur, this plant, or most of the places where the sand mines are not very far, this process has not been established till now. This probably will give you a graphical presentation of. So there was also one more step which we did, which is going beyond reclamation into making it a zero discharge foundry. So whenever we did the entire reclamation, there was around 20% or 25% of dust which was coming out. And this was also a challenge which was given to us by one of the buyers. And he said, I want 100% zero discharge. Otherwise, I can throw out sand, I cannot throw out dust. And we have been able to put this plant up in our factory now. We have made some bricks using 75 to 80% of dust and 20 to 25% of plastic. So it's 100% waste which has been used for making these bricks. And now we are moving into the commercial production as the pilot plant has been stabilized. The process has been stabilized. We are now getting to the production mode. But probably if the foundries can map the quantity of sand coming from different places, they would be able to plan the reclamation plant much better. And this graphical presentation can probably give major 4 areas: the decoding sand, the sand lumps coming from the sand plant, the excess sand which is thrown out, and the cores which get broken, rejected, or the sand which is rejected, which can come here. So these are some case studies. 2015, so Satyamurthy visited the plant. 2016 it was in production. He gave a presentation at IFC in Kolkata in 2017. And now they are looking at the second plant installation, and in their third plant also they are planning for this reclamation. These are some of the data of the input at different rates of input. What was the reduction in total clay, and how they have been able to manage their system. So that dead clay, now 2% dead clay is again a very good control of dead clay, but they were able to reduce the dead clay by almost 2% on an average. So we did some trials when we sent our engineer over there, and in June 2019 we took this data and documented it. This is the plant which is very similar to Aquasub, set up in CRI also in Coimbatore, commissioned in 2018. This is the plant which we installed and commissioned in January 2018 in our factory. And from this, we made all the trials of how is the original sand, what is the core sand, made cores out of it, made some trials with some one of our customers in Anand, testing the scratch hardness and all the parameters. And these are some of the direct costs. There are some indirect costs which have not been added. So depending on the sand, we could find what are different costs involved, and we try to arrive at the commercials of the process. We did some trial at Mahindra and Mahindra, sent some sand and made a trial, but we have still not moved ahead in that project. But we did some cores at that time, about a year back. And this is the installation which is now finally working in Flow Metallics Jagadia. It's a complete turnkey project where it's not only the project supply, we also moved into the operations and management of that plant. So that entire 1 year or 6 months, whichever period they want, our team will be operating and transferring the operational knowledge to their team. First set up the process, establish the process, establish the cost, and then hand over to the team to operate the plant. So there is a good collaboration between the foundry and the foundry machine supplier, which is very important if we want to put this process into working. This is the repeat order of Aquasub. So this plant is now for the green sand to molding. This is the configuration we are now installing in Magna Electrocasting. It's under installation right now. This is some data of the waste silica plastic box, paver blocks which we have been doing, and the strength is 2.5 times of the red brick, and soon it will be commercialized. So this is what I wanted to share with you. So we can start with the questions, or is there anything in detail which anybody wants to understand? Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. Let us take question from chat box first, and then we'll move to the.
Yeah, so let me open the
live
chat
questions.
box. So from where do I start? So I think as far as the properties are concerned, so I'll start with from the top.
Yeah. Meantime, I'm just requesting everybody to, I'm launching the poll, so give feedback meantime while the question answer session is going on.
Okay. So the first question for process parameters for Propal, I had already answered that process parameters don't change. It is the sand which we are giving inside which is very important. The second question is to what extent we can retain the sand properties after the reclamation process. Sand properties are not changed. Actually, there is some information that the sand property will be better because it has already gone through thermal expansion in the mechanical thermal process. But there's not much of evidence which we can share today of what is the impact, but definitely there is an improvement. Secondly, because we are screening it for the second time, the dust level and quality of sand may be better than what we have at the origin. It will depend on the quality of the original sand. It's a relative term, but it will not deteriorate, is what I have seen. So which sand reclamation technique is good so that we restore the original quality of sand? So which techniques are you comparing with? Because I know only one technique. means the data is available for only one technique today. It's not that I don't know only one technique. The amount of data which is available is only for one technique. So it's not easy to give an answer to this question. Because I make this plant, my obvious answer will be what I'm doing is working well. So then there was a question of what should be the percentage of reclaimed sand to be used with fresh virgin sand. If you are doing the reclamation of sand to pore sand, 100% pore sand, you can use 100%. So whatever trials I'm talking of is there is no mix of fresh sand or virgin sand in that pore sand. It's all with 100% reclaimed sand. But we have to also remember that the recovery of sand itself, silica content, will be something like 80%, and 20% will be 15 to 20% will be lost because of the shape of the grain, some dust generated, some burning off. So ultimately, you might end up adding around 15 to 20% of new sand in your system. So whether you want to use a virgin plus reclaimed mix or only virgin will be a decision as a process which you have to take. Because there is also one more parameter I have seen in the foundry that you may have two different types of AFS coming into the sand from two different sources. What you will get at the end of the reclamation will be a average of that. So if you are particularly in the shell process, your control, or in the cold walls, the control of the AFS is very important. You may like to use 100% new sand for a certain process and use 100% reclaim for a, so it's a question of balancing your system. For the GTI reclamation plant, how can we utilize waste energy? I think you can use a heat exchanger, work with some, because there's a lot of, see the plant which you are making has got very good thermal efficiency. Because it has got an internal heat recovery system. And as far as I understand about GTI, there were two models, one with heat recovery, one without. You may probably add a heat recovery system and get your solution. The pH value of reclaimed sand goes on increasing over a period. What is the desired? Since we don't have a lot of data on the impact of pH value over a period of 1 year or 2 years, the first question about whether it will increase over a period of not, I cannot answer. But from the data available from FATA in Mexico, this has not happened. It does not increase it because it goes through the same process and comes back to its original values, which would come normally after reclamation. The desired value of reclaimed sand in pH is basically the desired value of sand, the virgin sand. And as I understand in cold bags, the virgin sand you need around between 2 to 3 pH at a 7.7% ADV or 7.5% ADV. So the process will bring the reclaimed sand should be more or less near to that. And to control the pH is the process control. How much heat, how much are you heating the sand, and how much are you doing, to what extent are you doing the mechanical attrition? And fresh sand addition, as I explained before, we are testing at 100% reclaimed sand, where then fresh sand addition is only to replenish what is lost in the process. We are making cold shell mold assembly using core fixed binder, which is 80% sodium silicate. So sodium silicate, as I said, is a process which will require a separate reclamation process. So if you are able to have this separated, then the process may be viable. But for the very small quantity, I don't know if there are viable processes available. What is the minimum quantity of sand per day to keep the IRR? You need a financial person from one. I don't know what is the IRR calculation. I don't get into those figures. I can only share how much does it cost. The IRR has to be worked out by the person or the foundry itself. The sand can be reclaimed continuously because in any case, if you are losing 15 to 20% of sand in 5 cycles, you're already replaced the sand. So more than 5 to 6 is, it would not remain in the system. The cost of equipment is something I can share it to you on email, because I would not like this to be a commercial platform of sending my machine. Sandeep ji can share my email ID and we can discuss on what is your requirement. The approximate cost and area of plant also I can share if you send me an email. After reclamation process, mechanical plus thermal should reclaim sand, store at ambient temperature. The sand coming out of the thermal reclamation is already cooled to the, there's a cooler classifier, there's a cooling arrangement. So you're getting sand at the room temperature, ambient temperature. So you can store as you store normal sand. So the question about whether dry reclamation can restore the original quality of sand. As far as the scrubber process is concerned, it is only able to reduce 50% of the input additions as an optimized level. If you try to, it's like you want a mineral water of 99.9%, and then you say I want mineral water of 99.9999%. The cost of going to the third decimal or fourth decimal will be 10 times of what is the, so it's not that the process cannot be done. The recovery rate and the cost of recovery may not make it give a cost benefit analysis. So I would stay with 50% in the only mechanical and 100% with a combination of mechanical plus thermal. In green sand, what should be the compactly? So this, I think the last question is Sandeep ji's domain. I will not answer this. What should be the compactivity to moisture ratio to affect? These are all subjective. This is very, very relative to the process you are having, the type of casting you are doing. There is no one, foundry does not have a single answer for this, as far as I know, unless somebody has a different.
In fact, it's a reverse condition. Moisture will affect the compactability. The more will be the moisture, the compactivity will be higher.
Sir, the compactability and moisture relationship, as I understand, is a depending on the systems and composition. If you are using a French bentonite and French sand, you may be working at 2.3% moisture for 30% compactability. And you use Indian sand, your ratios may change. So it's very subjective. You cannot put some figures.
It depends on the product also. Product and your
the product also.
Sand to volume ratio, your casting to metal ratio, sand to metal ratio, core to metal ratio. A lot of things will affect. So I have 2-3 questions for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. One is you are talking about this sand reclamation can be used for the cores. How much percent of the sand can be used for the core? You can use 100%, or you can use 50-50 or 80-60 or 40-60. What is the best combination?
So whatever data I am giving is using 100% reclaimed sand.
100% reclaimed sand.
Yes.
So what will be the effect on addition of chemicals while using 100%? Is there any reduction right now, or is there any increase?
So as I said, this is something which will take some time to establish the data. Yeah. But whatever, because see, ultimately this test has to be done in the foundry. And we are very fortunate that we have the support of Flow Metallics management to do this test in their foundry. We had started full production and then the lockdown started. So we have to get back over there. Whatever tests we have done is with 100% reclaimed sand with the same resin addition. The target is to keep the same resin addition. So if it is 0.8, maybe we'll first have a 0.8 check for the dog bone and tensile strength, or we might add a little bit 0.75. So that trial and error is going on. You cannot, I cannot give you 100% data, but the data which I had from Mexico of the Pata process from 2P foundry, which was 10 tons per hour plant, they actually were able to reduce the consumption, because over a period of time, the sand which is rotating inside improves compared to the original virgin sand, and that should have an effect, but we don't have actual data as of now. So Sandeep ji, I have answered one question. You had three questions.
Yeah, two questions already asked. Third question, I think I want to answer about, ask about that. What will be the effect on AFS when before the reclamation you have certain AFS in your sand system, and after the reclamation when you add that reclaimed sand. So during the reclamation process, that is mechanical plus thermal, what will be the drop or increase in the AFS, and how it will affect the quality of that is the properties of the sand?
So at the input, we are talking of input as green sand, correct?
Yes, green sand, correct.
So the green sand AFS is already disturbed from the virgin sand.
Okay.
Because you are putting, you are having the oolitic layer on it. You have bentonite layers formed on the green sand over a period of time. So the original AFS of sand is already lost when it has gone into the green sand to some extent.
Okay.
And when you go into the attrition process, all you are doing is removing those layers.
Correct.
You're not breaking the sand, you're removing the layers. So the sand which comes out of reclamation and the data which we have seen is very close to the original core sand, original sand which was put inside, fed inside. Now the original sand, as I mentioned once, could be a combination, because a foundry sometimes has three types of sand coming into the system.
Correct.
Your shell core sand may be different, your cold work sand may be different, your sand in the molding may be different. Now the average of these three will be the representation of the AFS.
Correct.
Correct. Second part is at the end of the reclamation, you are able to have a screening system. So if I want a particular AFS, I can still maintain that AFS.
Correct.
But my recovery may change.
Okay.
And in larger plants, so when this is a concept which I had discussed for the cluster level. Yeah. If you are able to put a grading system after reclamation, and I was discussing with a chemical supplier, if you are able to put a grading system after reclamation, you are able to adjust your quality of sand as you want. Okay. You can have different recipes as you would have in a sand. So what do sand mines do? They will take different screens. So there will be a screening of separate, every C will have a separate storage, and then you mix as you want and then use it. So actually a reclamation plant can have a lot of advantages if you really understand the process of how to manage it.
Yes. And my last question is related to the viability and sustainability. You are talking that in Kolhapur or saying so many places, the purchase rate of sand, new sand, and the reclaimed sand cost is almost same or little bit. There's a little bit difference, not more, not much difference, minor difference. So people are thinking that why we should go to the reclaimed sand, we should go for the new sand. This kind of mentality is there still in the Kolhapur as well as in many places, because there is no commercial benefit available. So is any possibilities there by which we can come out on this particular topic or this particular question, so that we can have better utilization of this reclamation process and you can able to save the natural resources and use this reclaimed sand? Is there any chances of possibilities there by using some other technology or something like that?
See, as I said, Sandeep, this will require a collaboration between the foundry and the machine manufacturer. And there is a third element, which is the academics.
Yeah.
Today, we are completely disconnected from academics. And if I have to really improve on the process, there are possibilities. I have heard that you add some chemical in the sand before you don't need the second attrition. So there are a lot of theories which are going on, but this requires a research at institutional level. Now, who is going to fund this research and who is going to do this research is the question. And this question I've been asking for quite some time to myself and to whenever I meet people. So there is a cluster approach. Now, how can you develop a product in a cluster? Is a question. So product development is not happening. Ultimately, unless we have a very strong relationship with the academic institution as an industrial body, and we partner them, I don't see any process improvement. At this moment, what are we doing? We are taking technology which has been working in Europe or somewhere else. Where is the original technology in our country in sand reclamation? I do not find that. And we are working in silos. And I do remember that some work was done in IIT Mumbai. A year back or so, there was an exhibition in Kolhapur.
Yes.
I don't know if you have visited.
Yes.
This technology was displayed over there. Had you seen this?
Yes, I've seen it.
And they claimed that they had a very good control or something, and the investment was very less.
Yes, very less. It's just very one small room of maybe 5 foot, 6 feet by 6 feet, and they have established all the facility there.
Yes. But when we asked them the processing cost, it was 4 rupees.
Yes, that was true. Correct.
So what is the point of doing research when the what you can say, when you don't have the when the purpose is not served.
Yeah.
So that's where one of the biggest areas, as you said initially, that I'm working a lot in education and innovation.
Yeah.
And I have been asking institutions, why don't you collaborate? Now, institutions have their own framework, industry has their own framework, everybody is working in silos. So it's a different subject. But yes, it is necessary to make it viable, and it is possible if you work together. This is one part. The second part is, do we really know the cost of sand? This is a question which I always ask. Is it only the landed cost of sand, or do we really understand the impact of quality of sand on my cost of casting? Because there's a question how to identify low grade sand. That means low grade sand is existing. So there's a sand available at 2 rupees a kg. But
yes,
what is the impact of that 2 rupees kg sand on the cost of casting? Are you aware that certain, and I think even flow materials, they are importing sand and they are sitting on a sand mine. So Jhagadia is where the sand is mined, and possibly for some special cores, they're importing sand. So that itself answers the question about viability.
It's the same question in some little different dimension. I will just ask, if somebody has put their own plant for the reclamation, and there is a cluster where 15 or 20 or 50 foundries are there, and they can collect the sand and they can do so. The small pilot type of project and the bigger project where the cluster is there. Is there any difference in running cost? And of course, investment will be higher. But is there any difference in running cost? Is the running cost of the cluster will be lesser than the pilot plant, or it will be lesser in pilot plant?
What is your opinion? Then I'll give the answer.
Pardon?
What do you think? What do you think would be the answer?
I think cluster will be should be little lower. That is what people are thinking, and that is why people are thinking that the cluster is making the money out of it. They are putting like a business. They are not serving the industry. There is
so Sandeep ji, remember that the cost of capital is also cost of processing cost.
Very true.
So how do you? So does the cluster calculate the cost of capital?
I think most of the clusters taking the funds from their members. So the cost of equipment or cost of that particular project is being borne by the members. So I think the cost of investment will be very less.
So if I give you a foundry and I say your capex is 0, So your cost of casting will come down. It's the same for relationship, right? So this is the cost of capital. But if the cost of capital was same for putting up in a foundry and putting on a cluster, then putting up the foundry will be cheaper because the cost of logistics will be very high.
Okay.
Okay.
It
The
will,
plant
it will
which you have put
directly
in
save.
IPASA, the
It will
plant which you have
directly
in
save.
IPASA, there is manless, there is no person, there is no transport. An integrated plant will always be cheaper than a standalone plant. Because so we are talking of waste, right? In the 7 ways, if you are moving the sand from the sand plant, taking it 5 kilometers away, and again bringing it 5 kilometers, it's a waste. It will cost. If not today, it may be 10 paisa. Tomorrow, it may be 50 paisa.
Yes. And I
So
think you're talking about the cost of sand. You have to also consider the cost of disposition of the sand. If you are wasting the sand, you are not using it as a reclamation.
that's why
You have to dispose it. So the transportation and the place and all these things you are putting it for the disposal, that has to be added in your cost.
Sandeep ji, from a business perspective, we understand risk, correct?
Yeah.
Now look at Kolhapur as an example. There are 10 foundries who have high pressure molding line and 10 foundries who have a Jolski's line. Who is at a bigger risk?
High pressure line, of course.
No, sir. If the cost of casting is same, the Jolski is at a risk because the quality is not the same.
No, you're talking about disposal or you're talking
No,
about the
not
quality?
disposal. I'm talking I'm not talking about the disposal. I'm talking
Okay.
in the context of technology or in the context of sustainability. You will prefer a person. If I want to buy a casting, I'll first prefer a person with high pressure because of the consistency or quality. Right?
Correct.
Similarly, tomorrow if 10 foundries have sand reclamation and 10 foundries don't have sand reclamation, and there's a international buyer who is talking of sustainability goals and environmental sustainability, you forget the cost of sand.
Yes.
You will not be eligible only to be part of that.
Correct. Very true. Because of environmental aspect.
So that's why I'm saying, are we really understanding the cost of sand? Cost of sand is not one dimension. Cost of sand has multi-dimension, and today, wherever I go, we are only talking of a single dimension cost. My landed cost of sand is 2.5 rupees, but
Yes.
that's not all. That's all I have to say.
Intangible benefits you are talking about. That is very important.
Yes, very, very important. What if tomorrow the sand is not there and you have a supply order? So your loss of business for 3 years.
Loss of opportunity cost will be there. Be huge loss will be there.
So
you're losing a customer. You're losing a customer because of that.
So when you're talking of risk identification, how many risks do you really identify? And what is the actually impact on sand cost going from 2.6 rupees to 3 rupees a kg in the foundry on my cost of casting?
It will be very minor.
Very minor. Yeah. So we unless we as a foundry try to understand the sustainability, the competitiveness, resilience, all these factors when we are taking cost of sand, we may not be able to really get into the. So also look at this surface finish of casting. So when you are reclaiming sand, your sand is more uniform, more consistent. So ultimately your surface finish is going to improve. Your rejections in machining, your different problems. So there is a directly rejection cost which is attributed to sand. So what if I have consistent good quality of sand is the question which you have to ask. And that data must be available with the foundry. Once you tabulate that data, maybe you will be able to find out why should I put sand reclamation.
True. Does anybody have questions? So I'm not seeing any more questions there in the chat box. Also no raise hands. So thank you very much, sir, for your nice time and good presentation.
I hope the voice was clear.
Yeah, it was clear. It was nice. Very nice. There are, I think, few questions I am seeing. Is it affects?
But I think they are similar. So does it affect sand size distribution, sand grains crack, sand grains crack is something which I don't understand much, so I cannot answer. Size distribution is depending on what kind of screening you are doing. So I don't think that should be it has a very serious impact.
So what will be the effect on this oletics?
The
After the
pore sand, there is no oletics in the pore sand. So in the S1 process, if you see, the oletics reduction is around 30 to 35%. The dead clay reduction is around 50%.
Okay.
And which is good enough to manage the balance.
That is a mechanical process, only mechanical.
Only mechanical.
Yeah.
And I think many foundries can work with only mechanical.
Yes.
That is viable.
And in thermal plus mechanical, the total oletics will be go down because of thermal. Yeah.
Yes.
It will be getting breakdown and all. Okay.
Yeah.
And related to the CO2 sand and Novex sand, that is the chemical bonded, the thermal reclamation is must.
CO2 does not work in thermal.
Okay, only mechanical.
Only mechanical. I mean, CO2 has a different process itself, whether washing, mechanical, mechanothermal, but the temperatures over there is only not very high.
But
process,
can we use this CO2 with just mechanical process as a backing sand, not as a facing sand, just as a backing sand to fill up the box?
Used for last, I think for last 15, 20 years people are using it.
Okay, so it can be used for a backing. So facing can be used. Yeah, it will reduce a little bit cost for cost.
Yes. People are
and
using
also the disposal also gets avoided.
Yes.
So both benefit will be there. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you very much for your time and good presentation. Thank you. We'll have one more presentation on digitalization later on. So let us hope we'll have another more and more interactions with the team. And all the participants, thank you very much for joining and attending this webinar. And let us continue with the work with Corona. Thank you. Take care. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.